What is going on, guys? When you look at the careers of great quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Marino, and Drew Brees, you'd almost think it was nearly impossible to play in a Super Bowl. What if I told you that making the Super Bowl as a QB isn't as hard as you'd think? You don't have to be a Hall of Famer or a top-notch superstar like the aforementioned signal callers. You can be nearly average and still make it to the big game. You just gotta find yourself in the right place at the right time. Many quarterbacks probably didn't deserve to be starting in the Super Bowl, but they got there anyway, thanks to a great defense, a dominant ground game, and probably a little bit of luck as well. The following 10 guys know what we're talking about. That's why they made our list of 10 starting quarterbacks who didn't deserve to be playing in a Super Bowl. Number 10, Nick Foles, Super Bowl 52. After a frustrating 2015 season with the St. Louis Rams, Nick Foles seriously thought about retirement. He figured his starting days were long over, and the desire to play obviously was drifting away. Instead, he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2016 to back up Alex Smith. A year later, the Eagles signed Foles to serve as an understudy to Carson Wentz. Wentz enjoyed an MVP-like season before suffering a season-ending ACL tear in Week 14, and the Eagles' Super Bowl hopes look finished. Foles won 2 of 3 starts and helped Philly claim the top seed in the NFC. Foles struggled a lot in the divisional round against the Atlanta Falcons, but the defense held on for a tight 15-10 victory. A week later, Foles torched the Minnesota Vikings defense for 352 yards and 3 touchdowns to send Philly back to the Super Bowl. Foles continued the Cinderella run with a performance of the ages against the defending champion New England Patriots, throwing for 373 yards and a trio of touchdown passes in a 41-33 victory. Foles got hot at the right time for the playoff run, but let's remember that Wentz got Philly to that point by winning 11 of 13 starts, and Foles had the fortune of playing behind arguably the NFL's top offensive line, with a stacked set of running backs and pass catchers, and on a team with the 4th best scoring defense. Not taking anything away from Foles here. Wentz made the journey possible. It was simply Foles who finished it for him. Number 9, Jeff Hostetler, Super Bowl 25. The 1990 New York Giants were carried by the Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick coach defense. Make no mistake, the unit led by Lawrence Taylor allowed just 13.2 points per game, the fewest in the NFL that year. Otis Anderson led the offense with 784 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. Bill Simmons, the Giants' starting QB, was lost late in the regular season after suffering a broken foot. That paved the way for veteran backup Jeff Hostetler to fill in for the Giants' playoff run. Hostetler really didn't have to do much thanks to the Giants' lights-out defense and powerful ground game. He completed a total of just 25 passes for only 288 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Giants' playoff wins against the Chicago Bears and San Francisco 49ers. The dude didn't have to do a whole lot at all. Again, it was the Giants' defense that flexed their muscles in Super Bowl 25 against the Buffalo Bills. Hostetler performed nicely with 20 completions for 222 yards and a touchdown, but the D won that game by holding the NFL's best offense to just 19 points. Scott Norwood's missed wide right field goal clinched the Super Bowl for the Giants. Credit Hostetler for performing just fine in Simms' absence. But really, a lot of quarterbacks could have won that Super Bowl. I'm not saying I could have done it, probably not. I'm also not a quarterback. But with the same coaching staff and defense, it's doable. Just being real. Jeff, I'm sure you're a great guy. Number 8, Kerry Collins, Super Bowl 35. The journeyman QB had some good years with the Carolina Panthers, Tennessee Titans, and New York Giants. But let's be real, he was hardly the reason the G-Men reached Super Bowl 35 in the 2000 season. Collins put up numbers in the regular season, a 58.8 completion percentage for 3,610 yards and 22 touchdowns against 13 interceptions. Again, more than I could do. Fortunately, the Giants had a dynamic rushing duo of Tiki Barber and Ron Dayne, who combined for 1,776 rushing yards. 3 different Giants had over 700 receiving yards, led by Amani Toomer's 1,094. When the defense allowed just 15.4 points per game, 5th best in the regular season. But Collins and the Giants' passing game got exposed big time by Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens' lights-out defense in Super Bowl 35. Collins was limited to 15 completions for 112 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. He was sacked 4 times too. In a battle of defenses, the Ravens unit flexed their muscles even more, running away with an easy 34-7 victory to capture their first Lombardi trophy. Number 7, David Woodley, Super Bowl 17. As the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, the legendary Don Shula went to the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks. Bob Griese on 3 different occasions, David Woodley, and of course Dan Marino. Griese and Marino each won the MVP award. and they're both in the Hall of Fame. Woodley was a different story, however. He was only in Miami for 4 years, and he was the primary starter for 3 of them. The 1982 Dolphins went 7-2 in the shortened seasons due to a player strike. Woodley had 5 touchdowns against 8 interceptions in the regular season, but Miami had the number 2 scoring defense and Pro Bowl fullback Andre Franklin, leading the way. So Woodley only had to hang in there and not screw things up. That's all he had to do. Miami shut out the New York Jets 14-0 in the AFC title game. Woodley only had 9 completions for 87 yards. He took 4 sacks and was picked off 3 times. But the Dolphins' struggle at QB finally caught up to them in Super Bowl 17, falling 27-17 to Joe Gibbs' star-studded Washington team. Woodley only had 4 completions for 97 yards, 1 TD, and 1 pick in their loss. Number 6, Jimmy Garoppolo, Super Bowl 54. Garoppolo put up some very respectable numbers for the San Francisco 49ers in 2019, completing 69.1% of his passes for 3,978 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. But he had it easy in Kyle Shanahan's offense. The 49ers averaged 144.1 rushing yards per game, and they finished 2nd in scoring with 29.9 points per contest. As for the defense, San Francisco surrendered the 2nd fewest yards against, and they allowed the 8th fewest points. Garoppolo didn't have to do much in the NFC title game against the Green Bay Packers, because the 49ers rushed for an insane 285 yards and 4 touchdowns. When the 49ers had to put the game in Garoppolo's hands during Super Bowl 54 against the Kansas City Chiefs, he wasn't up for the task whatsoever. I mean, also, it could have been the coaching holding him back. That's a whole other story. But Garoppolo had just 219 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks for a 69.2 rating. Patrick Mahomes outdueled him with 286 yards and 2 TD passes in a 31-20 Chiefs victory. Lots of quarterbacks can excel in Shanahan's system. We're more than confident that San Fran could have gone to the Super Bowl and possibly won it with a different quarterback that year. Number 5, Peyton Manning, Super Bowl 50. Okay, do not get mad at me for this one. I didn't write this list. But here's our reasoning. We just need to be flat out serious. 2015 Peyton Manning, then 39 years of age, was one of the least effective and productive Super Bowl winning quarterbacks ever. Again, don't get mad. It makes sense. It does. Manning's body was so worn down at that point. He played through torn quads in the 2014 season. He missed 6 games in the 2015 regular season because of plantar fasciitis. It was in his left foot, which is downright painful and difficult to play through. Manning struggled a lot in his 10 appearances, tossing just 9 touchdowns against a whopping 17 interceptions for a 67.9 quarterback rating. But his leadership and veteran presence was more than enough for those 2015 Broncos to get on by. I mean, after all, they did have a ferocious defense led by Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, and the no-fly zone consisting of Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, and Bradley Roby. Throw in 2 1,000-yard receivers in Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders? Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, I'm sorry, and the dynamic rushing duo of Ronnie Hillman and CJ Anderson. That's a pretty formidable group to complement Manning. The defense took care of business throughout the year, holding Tom Brady and the defending Super Bowl champion Patriots to 18 points in the AFC title game. That sent Denver back to the Super Bowl, where they met the Carolina Panthers. Manning only had to complete 13 passes for 141 yards. He had no touchdowns, threw 1 interception, lost a fumble, and took 5 sacks. Fortunately for him, the Denver defense was even better than Carolina's. They forced 4 turnovers, sacked MVP Cam Newton 6 times, and scored 1 defensive TD, leading the team to a 24-10 victory. It's worth noting that backup Brock Osweiler won 4 of his 6 starts without Manning. It was nice to see Manning go out with the 2nd Super Bowl, but he should be the first to tell you that his teammates won the ring for him. I mean, he still contributed. Come on, he earned it. But this is one instance where the team carried Peyton, and not the other way around. He's still great. Not saying he's not. Number 4, Tony Eason, Super Bowl 20. New England Patriots head coach Raymond Berry enjoyed success with Tony Eason and Steve Grogan as his quarterback tandem. The former won 6 of 10 starts while Grogan compiled a 5-1 record. But it was the Patriots' electric rushing game, led by 1,227-yard man Craig James, and the league's 6th best scoring defense, that helped the Patriots reach 11 wins and eventually Super Bowl 20. Eason had 11 touchdowns against 17 picks in the regular season. Grogan was arguably the better QB, but Berry stuck with Eason, who did just enough in the postseason to retain the starting job. Berry went with Eason in the Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears, and the results were disastrous. Eason got nothing going against the greatest D ever assembled. He had no completions on 6 attempts, took 3 sacks, and lost a fumble. Berry turned over to Grogan, who didn't fare much better. He threw 2 picks and was sacked 4 times in an ugly 46-10 blowout loss. The Patriots overachieved that year. Nobody really gave them a chance against the Bears. Eason and Grogan were just average in the regular season, but simply not good enough in the Super Bowl. They didn't have a hope against the Bears defense. Number 3, Vince Ferragamo, Super Bowl 14. The 1979 Rams weren't really a Super Bowl caliber team, even if they won the NFC Championship. They went a mere 9-7 in the regular season. Ray Malavasi's team was 15th in scoring offense and 11th in scoring defense. They had a plus 14-point differential. hardly spectacular. They used 3 different quarterbacks in the regular season. Starter Pat Hayden suffered a broken finger mid-season, prompting Malavasi to turn to Vince Ferragamo. In 8 game appearances, he completed 48.2% of his passes with just 5 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. It's pretty brutal. The Rams upset the Dallas Cowboys in the divisional round, and Ferragamo didn't have to bother tossing a TD pass in the 9-0 shutout victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game. The Rams' unlikely run finally and predictably ended in Super Bowl 14. The Pittsburgh Steelers, led by the Steel Curtain defense and Terry Bradshaw, cruised to a 31-19 victory to win their 4th Super Bowl. For the Rams, well, it was a fun and unlikely run. They got to the big game with some pretty horrible quarterback play, so I guess that counts for something. Number 2, Trent Dilfer, Super Bowl 35. If you thought Kerry wasn't that deserving of a Super Bowl 35 appearance, well, meet his opponent for the game, Trent Dilfer. Dilfer replaced struggling starter Tony Banks mid-season, and he performed decent enough to help the Ravens notch 12 wins. But don't kid yourselves. That was largely because of the Ravens' star-studded defense that allowed, wait for it, 10.3 points per game, the fewest in the NFL that year. Dilfer also had the luxury of Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe and superstar running back Jamal Lewis and Priest Holmes, who formed a virtually unstoppable ground attack. In the regular season, Dilfer had a 59.3 completion percentage for 12 TDs and 11 picks. In the 4 postseason games, he totaled only 590 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. He had a woeful 47.95 completion percentage. But hey, the Ray Lewis-led defense and the ground game were more than enough for Dilfer, who captured a Super Bowl ring in his lone season with the Ravens. So I guess no one's complaining. Number 1, Rex Grossman, Super Bowl 41. 20 interceptions, a 54.6 completion percentage, and less than 200 passing yards per game usually gets a quarterback benched. Rex Grossman didn't meet that fate, however, because the 2006 Chicago Bears just kept on winning. Lovie Smith's defense allowed just 15.9 points per game. Thomas Jones had 1,210 rushing yards. Cedric Benson chipped in with another 647 yards. 3 different Bears had over 600 receiving yards. Oh, and special teams return man Devin Hester earned Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro nods. And so Grossman's frustrating play was largely overlooked as the Bears cruised to 13 wins and an NFC Championship banner. But it finally caught up to them in Super Bowl 41 against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts defense and the rainy conditions in Miami led to a miserable day for Grossman. He had just 165 passing yards for 1 touchdown, as well as 2 picks and 1 forced fumble. Peyton Manning didn't even have to try to bring his A game that day as the Colts emerged victorious 29-17. Yeah, Chicago could have used a better quarterback that year. Which other starting quarterbacks didn't deserve to play in the Super Bowl? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We're on everything. Go find us, go follow. Yeah. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click down below, and subscribe to TPS. We post videos every day. Every day's a new video. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. See you next time.
My knee.